Hi, everyone. Happy to have you here. My name is Anthony Considine, and I am in the school counseling program in my second year.
Thank you. Kayla?
Hi, everybody. My name is Kayla Struby. I am in my third and final year of the Rehabilitation Counseling Master's Program.
Okay, thank you. Nicole?
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole or Nikki. It'll pop up as Nikki on here. I am in my second year and final year of the mental health counseling program.
Okay, thank you. And Rachel, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Gott. I am a second year student in the school psychology program.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so I have a few questions here. And the first I'm going to please ask Anthony, what made you choose the specific pathway of counseling that you've chosen versus the other programs within our counseling school and educational psychology department?
Okay. So I actually think I have a little bit of a unique perspective on this. For 5 years prior to coming to grad school here, I was a mental health and substance abuse counselor, and honestly, it kind of burnt me out a little bit. Being especially in the outpatient setting, it got very difficult to keep up with, and I loved working with kids. So, the biggest thing about the school counseling program in general is you get right into your internship, and I really like that aspect of it as well.
Thank you, Anthony. And if I could pass that same question then please to Kayla. What made you choose your specific area of counseling for graduate studies?
Yeah, so I chose rehabilitation counseling over the other counseling programs because I wanted to be able to work with the disability community. It's really great to be able to not just provide those counseling services for individuals, but to be able to provide vocational services. So it's very rewarding to be able to, get to see the growth of an individual from the time that they walk into your office to the time where they're on their own independent, work schedule and they can work independently and you see them maximize their potential. And also, I do want to note that I am in the online program, so I'll be able to offer a little bit more of a unique perspective coming from that type of learning environment as well.
Yeah, thank you, Kayla. And so again, before we move forward with the other two panelists, so Anthony is in the school counseling program, Kayla is in the rehabilitation counseling program. And now we'll please hear from Nikki.
I, funnily enough, kind of have the inverse experience of Anthony. So I spent a few years working in school settings as a teacher and very often found that I was acting as a counselor for my students. And I've had a real interest in mental health. So I decided to go into mental health counseling where I could work directly with children and really address those issues instead of playing that dual role. And I really liked the program because it really focuses on true psychopathology and kind of focuses on mental health counseling versus other areas of counseling.
Yeah, thank you. Rachel, you're up, please.
So school psychology is a little different. What I like about it and why I chose this program is that we don't have some of the barriers that can be present in traditional private practice counseling. So we don't have to deal with insurance. And if parents have transportation issues with themselves or with their child, the child can take the bus to school or they are in walking distance. So we can easily access kids who need it without certain factors, because I know that counseling can be inaccessible in some communities because of cost and because there's a shortage of counselors in some areas. So I feel like working in a school setting, we can get kids who really need it, who aren't getting counseling outside, and we don't have some of those additional barriers that can be present with private practice.
Yeah, thank you. So again, just to take note that Nikki is involved with the mental health program, counseling program, and Rachel with the school psychology program. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it back to everyone that's joining us tonight. I'm not sure what your area, of course, of interest is, and think about the four that just spoke and what they shared, and maybe what was pulling you in terms of your interest. Okay, as we move through, that might be helpful to be somewhat narrowing, so to say, or exploring what your interest area is. All right, I'm going to go back to Anthony. Anthony, What are some of the courses that you take in your program that you can share with our guests?
Sure. So some of the courses, especially the more impactful ones, have been the social justice classes. Um, they're really hands-on as far as everything, the projects and things that are assigned. They're all integrated into the entire program as well. For instance, we have an advocacy project right now where we're working on it in our internship class, and we're also applying it in our social justice class and in the internship site itself. Yeah, and we have two group courses that we need to take, as well as consultation class and things like that for working with other professionals in the school setting. Um, and obviously your internship and practicum and fieldwork classes as well.
Okay, thank you. And then Kayla, in regards to the rehabilitation counseling program, what type of courses can you share?
Yeah, so when you start the program, you'll take your foundational courses. So literally like foundations of rehabilitation and counseling theory. Then you'll go into kind of more of like the medical aspect of it. Then you'll learn more about career development, and then you'll have like your test and measurements and statistical research. So you'll get into more of like the numbers and studies like that. Legal and ethical issues in counseling is a big course, and you kind of see all of these courses intertwined in every semester and every class that you take. And then you'll go into your field work where you'll do, your practicum, and you'll learn also in another class about group work. So it's experiences both leading and interacting in a group setting. And then you'll have your portfolio, which I'll talk more about later, and your internship.
Thanks, Kayla. Nikki, specific courses within the mental health program that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so similar to what was just shared, we kind of start with foundational courses as well, but some of the more specific courses that I have found really valuable, we had an entire course in psychopathology, kind of digging into what different mental health disorders look like, how to effectively diagnose them, etc. And we've kind of followed the breadth of really looking at different groups for counseling. So we have a multicultural counseling course that I found very valuable because you're learning about how to offer effective counseling to people from backgrounds different than yourself. Family counseling, so if you're working directly in kind of a system setting, and group counseling along with that. And then you also, towards the end, will take assessment and how to effectively use tests and measurements and really apply them through your counseling work. And of course, internship, portfolio, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Nikki. And Rachel, what could you share about coursework in the school psychology program, please?
So for school psychology, we do a lot of counseling courses in our first year. We have a foundational class, and then our counseling courses focus more on children and adolescents. But additionally, we do take a lot of assessment classes. So we learn how to do cognitive assessments and achievement assessments, because that is a very big part of school psychology. So we don't just have a focus on counseling. There also is a lot of assessment. So if assessment isn't something you enjoy, then it's not for you. There's other counseling programs, but it is a lot of assessment classes in your first year. Your second year, you will go into doing classes and also do your practicum. So you'll be in a school district for 2 days a week, about getting 400 hours of time in a school working with children, doing counseling and doing assessment in real time. And then your third year, you do an internship for the entire year, is how our program is. So it's a lot of counseling, but it also is a lot of assessment classes as well.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. So what we're hearing is that each of the programs has foundational courses in counseling and then specific to their program. And then we've also heard that there are practicum as well as intern placements. And so I'm going to pass it back to Anthony to please share in terms of how do you choose your intern or your practicum placement.
Sure. So we don't get to technically pick. However, it is within a mile range of where you're coming from. I believe it's 50 miles. You get placed in your fieldwork and practicum is 1 full year, so you'd be in like the same school. And then you have 2 internships in your second and final year where you will be placed in 2 different schools. And these schools are going to consist of different demographics, such as where the school is located, whether it be urban, suburban, or rural. as well as the diversity within the school. So you get an experience as well as all three levels: high school, middle school, and elementary school. So you get a lot of experience and really figure out where you would prefer to be.
Anthony, could you share where you're currently having your placement?
Yeah,
Like in terms of, yeah, what elementary, high school and such.
sure. So last year for the full year, I was at Maryvale High School, which is right near Cheektowaga here in Buffalo. And this year, for this first half, I'm at Eden Middle School and High School, and then in the spring, I will be at Futures Academy in the city.
Yeah, thank you. That just kind of puts a testament to exactly what you had just shared. So thanks for your examples. And Kayla, can you share with us regarding the practicum intern and the process for choosing and your placements?
Yeah, so I feel like the program really has a good system of getting you set up for that. You do get to choose where you're going to do your field work for both practicum and internship. In your earlier classes, one of the first assignments that you do is to essentially make a contact sheet. So you will be, researching different programs in your area and finding out, where those different opportunities exist so that maybe a year and a half later, when your practicum experience does come around, you kind of already have your foot in the door. You have spoken to somebody at these establishments and you know whether they offer practicums or internships and more information about what they offer. So finding my practicum was pretty easy when it came to that. And you are able to obviously have all that research to know what's going to fit best with your schedule. When I did my practicum last year, I was at the Rehabilitation Institute. And this year, my internship was a little bit harder to find. But I did also have a lot of recommendations from my prior supervisor at my practicum site. So she was able to provide me with networking to be able to, find my home now. And I am with ACLD, which is Adults and Children with Learning and Developmental Disabilities. And I absolutely love it there. I'm working there as a job coach, and I'm also working alongside the evaluator. So it's been a great experience for that. But yeah,
Yeah,
I would say just do your research and, for this, you can pick where you're going. So you can really find where you're going to be happy.
yeah. And thanks, Kayla. And Nikki, we're going to pass that same question on to you in regards to placement for practicum and intern.
Yeah, so very similarly, during the mental health counseling program, you will get to choose your internship site. The way that typically looks is many of us will take internships at local mental health agencies, or some of us are in private practice. It really just depends on your interests. And we're applying for open clinical interning positions. There is usually an interview process. You're going to interview for different sites. And so you can really interview the site and see if it's the right site for you, which I found very valuable. And then if you have a specific interest, so specifically I work with children, that's something you want to do your internship with children if you'd like to work with children afterwards. So I was able to really gear my internship towards specifically doing children's counseling. I know that there are a few of us that are looking into eating disorder clinics because that's also a subspecialty. So I think the really great part about our program is we have our clinical field director, who is now actually our program director, Jen Dexheimer, who is wonderful if you have a specific interest at saying this is where certain people have gone in the past, you might be interested in looking there. And she is a wealth of information. So I think that it's really just a matter of, again, researching sites that you're interested in and really knowing what specialty you want to go into and being willing to interview a site as much as they interview you.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. And then also to point out, as was just shared, that each of the programs does have a clinical coordinator who will work with you in regards to your practicum and intern placement. So it's not a search that you're on your own with. There's certainly support throughout the whole process. And then Rachel, can you please share in regards to that?
So for school psychology, for our practicum year, we don't get to pick that. So the clinical coordinator sends out a survey asking if we would prefer like a rural district, suburban, urban, how much independence we would like at our sites, and gets feedback and then places us somewhere close to UB, just like within Western New York. And then during your second year, we have an internship fair. So they'll do a Zoom meeting where you can meet with local school districts within Western New York and pick where you would like to apply to. And If you would like to work outside of Western New York, that is also allowed. So if you do the program for the 2 years within Western New York, you can move your 3rd year and intern in a different state if you would like to. And that is completely okay.
Yeah, thank you. So it sounds like initially there may be that a process that is there and standard, and then it becomes something with a little bit more choice, dependent on the individual. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. So here's a question for each of you. We're going to start off with Anthony first. What does that first year look like? How do you manage classwork, assignments, as well as being your own person, having a life outside of academics? If you could please share along that, and thank you.
Yeah, sure. It was difficult, I'm not gonna lie. So before this, I wasn't in school for several years. I graduated with my bachelor's back in 2017. So coming back to school was definitely a switch in general, and that may have made it a little more difficult on me personally. I also live about 40 minutes from campus, so I recognized that I needed to be a little more prepared for my day, to spend the whole day away from the house, make sure I had everything. Like I carry even like a little toothbrush around with me all day because I'm gone for, 12 to 16 hours at a time. Um, as far as managing, working, because you obviously have to pay for things as well. Our program recommends no more than 20 hours a week as far as an outside job. It's very difficult to keep up on your schoolwork and the requirements for placement as well if you work more than that.
Yeah. Thank you. Somehow you're finding a way to balance it best you can.
Somehow, yes.
Yeah, understandable. Kayla, can you share with us a bit about that for yourself?
Yeah, so my first year, I had a similar experience. So I had taken about 6 years off in between getting my in-person undergrad back in 2015, and then coming into an online learning environment was very different and intimidating at first. But I did find that I did really like the online format of the program. I'm not sure how it is differently on campus, but it's been great online. Obviously, all the course material is the same. But your first year, you're doing those foundation courses and you're really just learning um, how available everybody on campus is to you. I mean, my undergrad experience, like I said, was in person, but even being an online student now, I feel like I have more ability to get in touch with my professors. I have a better relationship with the professors that I've had through this program than I did in my undergrad program. And it was at a different institution. Um, but yeah, I feel like it was fairly easy to be able to manage, working and going to school. Being an online student, obviously, you have a little bit more flexibility. It's not as demanding of having to go to campus. Your class meetings are a little bit different, and few and far between. And your assignment outlook is similar, but your day-to-day requirements are at different capacities. So depending on if you're going to be, in person or an online student, you'll be able to find, what works for you to balance out your schedule, whether it's working a job while you go to school or however else you are balancing what you need to do outside of this.
Yeah, and thanks, Kayla. And the rehabilitation counseling does offer that part-time program online, or the full-time, which is on campus. So I'm glad that you had mentioned that. And then Nikki, how about yourself? What was the first year like for you? How did you go about managing it?
Yeah, so I will kind of reiterate what Anthony said. It was tough the first year. I'm not going to lie to anyone. With the MHC program, if you are in the full master's program, you are on campus and it is a full-time program. We do not have a part-time option. So you will be expected to be at campus for full-time class load, which honestly was the easiest part of my schedule. So I do work full-time as well. So it was really a balancing act. And for me, it was a lot of setting a pretty strict schedule for myself and making sure that I built that self-care time in, which is very important for being a mental health counselor, period, because it is really easy to get burned out. So it's kind of good practice. But I really think it's valuable that we're on campus the way we are, because I honestly feel like I get a lot more out of class discussions than I do. I know some people really love the online format, but personally, I really enjoy that we're on campus. And that first year, given that we don't have internship, honestly, I felt like the class load was manageable. It's a graduate program. You're going to have a good amount of work outside of class, but as long as you plan ahead, I think it's very, very doable.
Mhm. Yeah, thanks. And the honesty from each of our panel students, thank you so much for that, because that's what we're here to provide for you, is honest information. So Rachel, what can you share with us in regards to the first year and how that was for you, please?
So my experience is a little different than the norm. So I'm a veteran, so my GI Bill covers my expenses while I'm in school right now. So I will say that UB is very veteran friendly if anyone here is one. But that means that I don't have to work during the school year. So I found everything to be very manageable, but I also didn't have a job my first year. But I do know that my classmates, some of them work 2 or 3 jobs. And they would go right after class or before class, and they would do shifts. A lot of them are waitresses. And they say that it's very manageable. And I do say that the school psych staff is very flexible. So if there were work requirements or other things that people had going on and they wanted like assignments pushed a little bit or some flexibility on due dates, that they were more than like willing to work with you if you had a lot going on. So I'm sorry, I don't think that was as helpful as it could have been.
No, that's very helpful. And I think what you mentioned in terms of how you felt like yours was maybe a little different than others, I think each person's probably situation is unique, because for yourself, like what your day is like and what your responsibilities are like, be it, for an employment, a job, or be it for family, other considerations. So again, I'm glad you're here, everyone, so that you can get that perspective of, yeah, how do you manage? And then I'm going to bring it back to Anthony for the question is, in regards to your advisor in your program, what is that like the first year, and other supports that possibly are very worthwhile for first year and second year and so on students?
Yeah, absolutely. So you are assigned an advisor. Our program currently only has 2 full-time doctor professors. They are working on getting a third. You're assigned to one of the 3 of them. They are obviously your go-to, but you can go to anyone in the program, specifically our director, Tony Tasato. He is phenomenal. He is always willing to help, and having your internship and your placement and stuff the first year is very helpful as well. The supervisor at the school, depending on what school you're at, obviously is very helpful and is another resource for you. Our placement coordinator is Tammy Prosser, and her communication is through the roof. Sometimes a little much, but she's very good with making sure that you're informed on what you're doing and what you have to do. Anything in this program, I can say wasn't a surprise. I'm not thrown off by anything. I always know what's coming next, and I always know what's expected of me for any given aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that, Anthony. And then Kayla, what are your thoughts in regards to the advisor and other supports that are provided that are helpful?
Yeah, so just like Anthony said, you're given an advisor. My advisor, Dr. Munoz, ended up actually being my first professor of my first class, my first year. So I got to know her really well, really fast. So she's always been a great resource, but everybody in the department is really helpful. So you can really go to any of your professors at any time. A lot of the professors do teach multiple courses, especially for the online program. So you do have them kind of literally at your fingertips as a resource. And currently I have Dr. Sabella, who actually interviewed me coming into the program initially, and he's with me right now overseeing my internship. So it's kind of coming full circle for me. He helped me get into the program, and now, he's helping me finish it up. So it's been a really good experience, and everybody has been really supportive and helpful. And you're never alone in this program. You literally always have somebody that you can turn to, and there's no wrong person to ask for help.
Yeah, yeah. Good point to make. Thank you for that, because we all know within the counseling field, it was brought up, Nikki had brought up about self-care and the value, of course, in the worth in that. And I'm going to use the word balancing again. So having support there for you is essential. Okay, Nikki, if you could add to that conversation, please.
I've had a similar experience. So my advisor that I was assigned is actually Dr. Sabrina Musson. She is the former program director. And so she, once again, is a wealth of information. She knows the ins and outs of the program. She also knows the ins and outs of counseling. So she has been a fantastic resource. But honestly, all of our professors are willing to be helpful. I know a lot of people in the mental health counseling program also are very interested in going on to psychology PhDs and things of that nature. So if you're ever interested in doing research or any kind of pointers for further education, the faculty is honestly just indispensable. And as far as internship goes, Dr. Musson also oversees our internships. So she is very in tune with kind of the experience of being what I'm going to call on the ground, feet on the ground counseling. And so honestly, I've never felt unsupported in this program. There's always someone that is willing to help if you are willing to reach out.
Thank you, Nikki. Rachel, your thoughts, please.
So for the school psychology program, we are a very small program. My year, only 12 students were accepted. So all of us had the same advisor, Dr. Vujnovic, which is our program director, and she is absolutely wonderful. So her office was always open for questions, comments, concerns. If we just wanted to talk or practice assessment, she always made herself available for us. But since we are a very small program, we also do get very close. So we have a big group chat where we can check in and provide assistance to each other and just kind of lean on each other for additional support.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, now for our panel, because those that are here with us tonight, you're interested in the University of Buffalo and one of the programs. So I'm going to give this to Anthony in terms of why UB. Anthony, what was your choice for UB? What's unique about the program you're in that made you choose UB and this program?
So I think the biggest thing is that this is only one of 3 programs in New York State universities that had, or at least in Western New York, that has school counseling. The other 2 are Canisius and Niagara University. I believe those are only 1-year programs as well. This one is a 2-year format. And I've mentioned this previously, you are thrown into your internship right away. I know for a fact in those other 2 programs you are not. And me personally, I learned best from hands-on experience, and there's nothing better than getting into a school right away to try and practice some skills. And yeah, I would just say like the internship, and we are also run off of a cohort model as well. There's only 18 people in our program, so to add them as a resource, similar to what Rachel said, we are a smaller group and we have a big group chat and everything. So definitely that was a big aspect of it as well.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Thank you. Kayla?
Yeah, so like I said, I was coming out of, a 6-year hiatus of not being in school. And when I decided to go back, obviously, it's an intimidating decision to make after having so much time away from, education in that regard. But choosing UB was kind of easy. I kind of just looked at a bunch of state universities and, universities around me. I looked at, where I had done my undergrad in person, and I was just looking through programs because I really didn't know what direction I wanted to take it. So I have my bachelor's in psychology, and there's a lot of different avenues you can go with that. So I didn't know if I wanted to go to the counseling field. I didn't know which way I wanted to go with it. So I just did my research to find programs, and I stumbled upon the rehab counseling program, and it was the first one that kind of gave me that like aha moment, and I kind of saw myself like in my future doing that as a career, and I was like, this is what I want to pursue. So I think once I made that decision, I kind of like had all my eggs in one basket and was like, okay, I want to try to go here. So I did everything I could to make sure I would be part of this program, and the end is in sight.
Yeah, here you are. Thank you, Kayla. Nikki?
So I'll very quickly echo both Rachel and Anthony because the master's program, the MHC Masters, is run on a cohort model. There are 18 of us. We have a giant group chat. So that's really great. But I actually looked at programs nationwide because I was looking specifically for a Master's of Science. Many MHC programs are Masters of Arts. This is a Master's of Science, so it has more of a research basis, which is what I was really interested in. And UB's program specifically also has a real focus on diversity and social justice, which I found very important. I am very active in politics and social justice, so having that as a real focus for the counseling program was a real draw for me. I also think it's just important for the counseling field in general because we're working with a variety of populations, a variety of backgrounds. So being in a small program that not only wanted to do research, but also wanted to do good for all communities was a huge draw for me.
Nikki, thank you for that. And that's come up a few times in terms of diversity. And if we're even thoughtful about who we have joining with all of us tonight, like clearly there's diversity and that's to be honored and respected. So with that in mind, we'll move on to Rachel, please.
So something that I liked about UB's program is that they get you into schools your very first semester. So I think the second week of classes, we go into a local school and we practice doing assessment on some of the students in that school. So we partner with a local school, we go in, and then for the whole semester, we are in and already working with children from the very beginning. And a lot of school psychology programs do not have that. So that's something that's really special about this program. And additionally, UB does have a great reputation, not even in counseling programs, but in general. They have a fantastic reputation, and I do feel very prepared to go in and begin working in schools. So I feel like they set us up very well for our practicum and our internship. So I really enjoy it. I love this program. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rachel, Kayla, Nikki, and Anthony. And again, for those that are joining us tonight, be thoughtful of, what brought you to our Zoom meeting and informational sessions tonight. What is it that you're looking for?